Welcome back to the realm, lords and ladies. I am the Goat King, and today we explore a homebrew rule for social encounters of the diplomatic variety. By the time this video goes live, the homebrew rule for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Dynamic Diplomacy, will be available on our Discord, linked in the description. The problem I'm trying to solve is an over-reliance on combat in not only Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but many other systems as well. In my experience, the favored solution for this problem has been to strip combat to the same bare-bones state as diplomacy. I believe a better solution is to elevate social encounters by making the mechanics behind them as interesting as those of combat. My solution is heavily inspired by the dynamic hacking rules released recently for Starfinder, as well as my own experiences with failed and successful conversations. The dynamic diplomacy system preserves and relies on Pathfinder 2e's attitude conditions and adds a lightweight tone system and conversation mode. The purpose of this is to bring elements of real-life conversations into the game to make the pivotal encounters with powerful NPCs and the interactions therein dramatically eventful. In conversation mode, you will have one PC leading the conversation, and you may have a few other PCs acting in supporting roles. The PCs acting in supporting roles use their lore and other skills to aid the main conversationalist. Every conversation begins with a reasonable request. Unreasonable requests will be rejected outright and often worsen the NPC's attitude. An NPC with an exceptionally negative attitude may reject even a reasonable request. Conversations occur in 1-minute rounds. The health of a conversation is determined by the NPC's attitude. If an NPC's attitude drops too low, the conversation will be cut short, leaving the NPC in a foul mood. An NPC that begins a conversation with a high attitude will receive negatives to their will DC, representing their existing friendly nature. When starting a conversation, the lead PC will determine their tone. Tone is represented by 3 subskills. Humor represents the PC's friendliness and ability to break through tough conversational defenses. Candor represents the PC's honesty and ability to represent their own ideas. And finally, tact represents the PC's ability to empathize with and understand the PC they're conversing with. Each subskill has a bonus equal to the PC's diplomacy skill bonus. When deciding tone, the PC assigns a circumstance modifier ranging from -3 to +3 to each subskill, with the total adding up to 1/3 the PC's proficiency bonus in diplomacy. Each of these subskills can be used to perform a basic action or address one of the NPC's arguments. NPC arguments come in 3 varieties: values, hang-ups, and counterpoints. All of these arguments have a DC to address that is based on the NPC's will DC, with a difficulty modifier based on how important the specific argument is to the NPC. Values are core to an NPC and typically cannot be addressed until the hang-ups and counterpoints have been addressed. Attempting and failing to address a value is taken as an insult and degrades the NPC's attitude. Hang-ups are the reasons an NPC uses to quickly justify their ideas. Only critically failing an attempt to address a hang-up causes attitude to be harmed. Counterpoints are the NPC's attempt to convince you. The NPC will attempt a diplomacy check against the PC's will DC. Every round there are unaddressed counterpoints. If this check is successful, the PC must end the conversation, or the NPC's attitude will worsen. If the PCs address all the NPC's arguments, the conversation is ended and the request is granted. If the PCs choose to end the conversation, The NPC's attitude is adjusted to the last attitude of the conversation, and the NPC will not engage in a conversation for the same request for at least an hour. If the NPC ends the conversation due to poor attitude, this time limit is increased to 24 hours. The document for this homebrew will be linked in our Discord. Please leave any questions in the comments down below or on the Discord. Thank you for visiting the realm. I have been the Goat King, and come back again next week for more Pathfinder and Starfinder.